Welcome back, book nerds. It's Angie, and on today's episode of the podcast, I will be speaking with Nicole Emanuele, writer and director of the short film WINGMEN, which was showcased at the 2020 HollyShorts Film Festival. WINGMEN is a 2019 Refinery 29 Shatterbox short film about young female fighter pilots on the cusp of deployment. Without any further delay, let's jump into the podcast. Hi there, book nerds. Welcome to today's episode of the podcast. Joining us today, we have Nicole Emanuele. Thank you so much for joining me today, Nicole.
Hi, thanks, Angie. I'm glad to be here with you.
Now, for our audience that isn't familiar with you or your work, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, well, my name's Nicole Emanuele, and I'm a filmmaker who lives here in LA. I have been making films for a long time. I kind of knew that I wanted to do this very early on in my life. I grew up in Maryland and I didn't really have any connections to Hollywood. I actually had an older cousin that got me into filmmaking, and he was the cinematographer on WINGMEN. He went to Temple University Film School in Philly and got me kind of hooked into movies when I was in my early teens. So I just started making my own stuff and volunteering on independent film sets through the Maryland Film Commission. And then I ended up going to Florida State University Film School, where I met a lot of other people that like to make movies. And that's kind of been how I started my career. But I've also been an executive in film and TV, and like I said, I didn't know anybody. So I really just I got my first job by going to places I thought made cool stuff with my resume and knocking on the door. And a lot of them laughed at me and were like, you have to apply on the internet and stuff. But the one place was like, yeah, you can have an internship here. And that was how I got started. It's kind of led to everything in my, job career side. And then I just always make movies. And WINGMEN, this project WINGMEN is something that was supported by first the Tribeca Institute, and they have a Chanel program called Through Her Lens. And so it was supported through that. They gave me a little grant and took me through a director's workshop. And then they connected me to Refinery 29, who greenlit this along with Level Forward as a part of their Shatterbox series. So I've been very lucky to have had so much support on this project. And it's been exciting for me that this idea of telling the story of women doing this incredible thing has connected with people.
I love that. And I think it's really great that you were able to get your start. And I just love, I've been interviewing women in film almost for the past 2 weeks, and it's just so inspiring because I'm also a filmmaker. So it's just really great to be here talking to you today. And I really enjoyed WINGMEN. But for our audience that doesn't know what the film is about, can you please let them give them a little synopsis or a log line?
Sure. WINGMEN is about some best friends who are flight partners. They're aviators in the Air Force, and they fly a jet together, kind of, Maverick and Goose. And the story of WINGMEN takes place during one of their bachelorette parties, and kind of the friendship that they have in the sky and on the ground, how they're partners in both places.
That sums it up perfectly. I love how your dog wants to get in on the interview.
Yeah. Wait, here he is. Hey, Moose.
Oh, he's so cute.
Thank you.
I was like, wait, is it the audio? But it's just your dog.
I know.
So you're the writer and director of the film. Can you tell us a little bit about what the inspiration was?
Yeah, so this movie, while it's a high concept, it's really personal to me. My youngest sister is a aviator in the Naval Academy, and she's kind of my baby. I was 7 when she was born and was always taking care of her. And um, just when she went on this path and started at the Naval Academy, it was this crazy thing. You know, she was 17 years old, and then 2 years later, she signed paperwork committing to the military for years of her life. And she was so young, and I had a lot of thoughts about what it was like to be a woman in the military and what it was like to be in the military, because I don't come from a military family. So a lot of that was shaped by the media and the movies and the stories that I've seen. And seeing my sister go through it, she's so different from that. Like, she's not GI Jane, and none of her friends are. And in fact, like, I had this experience where we went to a bar with some of her girlfriends from the Naval Academy and Flight School, and it was my sister's kind of quasi bachelorette party. And um, I looked around the bar and I realized that like no one in this bar would ever think that like the 3 women I was sitting with fly like multi-million-dollar aircraft. And like it was this kind of amazing thing to me because they look very young. They look like normal women. It's just like it's just that was something that I wanted to like tell the story about. And I wanted to tell a story about them in a way that allowed them to be as young and immature as they are in real life, and that they were faced with some of the hard choices that people in the military are faced with, like when you do deploy, or your husband gets stationed in a different place, or your boyfriend does, or all of that. And I think for women in the military, what I've seen is a lot of the men, a lot of military wives, there's a whole culture of like women that date and marry military men and have community around that, and they travel with their husband and kind of pick up and do what he's doing. But for these women in the military, like, it's very rare that they have civilian partners. They almost always have military partners, and that makes it pretty complicated. And for my sister, like, she and her husband do different things in the military. And so it was a lot of work for them to get stationed even within like 200 miles of each other for their home base, not like deployment, just for like day-to-day life. And so it's just really fascinating to me. And I think the other thing is I wanted to show the weight of the world that's on their shoulders when they're actually in the field. And I think specifically for pilots that are kind of flying these like high speed aircraft at this point, like, they're really not in as many dogfight situations, but there are like, really big like there are situations with heavy political tensions, and they can have global ramifications on our relationship with other nations. And when you boil it down, it's 4 people in the sky, and it's 2 people in one plane and 2 people in another plane, and it could have an impact that's much greater. So that was another reason, another kind of inspiration for me in this specific story. And that kind of situation that happens in the film where our main characters have a face-off with an enemy aircraft that's not really violent but is dangerous, that happens, and it makes the news, and it like causes a lot of tension internationally.
Yeah, I think it's really amazing how you kind of just described the whole film with just, your personal experience. And I mean, you totally said that the screenplay is based off your little sister and how you saw them and everything. But yeah, I think it was really interesting how you were able to capture these women who, they just seem like normal women at the beginning of the film, and they're just, at a bachelorette party, and then they get the phone calls and just like, wait, what's their job? And once you find out, it's just like, oh, okay. But at the same time, it's also empowering to see women, being like they're the best team in their division. And that was really amazing to see. It reminded me of Captain Marvel a little bit. And I was just like, yes.
Yeah, it's cool. So it's funny you mentioned Captain Marvel because the Air Force was really helpful in my research on this project. They connected me with a number of real pilots who I could speak to. Some of them um, were pretty senior and are training younger pilots. The other thing that they did for us is they actually had set up something special around, it was kind of around Captain Marvel because they were making a promo piece that was going to air with Captain Marvel. And they got hundreds of female Air Force pilots together at an Air Force base just north of Los Angeles. And they invited us to come, and we brought the actresses. And so me and Jazz and Sam, who play Marie and Sarah, we drove up to the Air Force Base and we met hundreds of pilots, and a woman who was like a 2-star general, Jeannie Bradley. She was the first fighter pilot in the Air Force, female fighter pilot in the Air Force. She spoke, and we were able to like really connect with a lot of these women. And that was a good inspiration for Sam and Jazz to kind of be able to kind of feel the passion that these pilots feel, but also get to talk to them about dating and like what it's like when you're, doing, when you're on base, or what it's like when, you're in the air. They got to kind of hear all of that and kind of bring that to their characters. And for me, it really it was just so impressive to see all these people together. The other thing I did in my research was I connected with a woman who's a former Air Force pilot, and she flew these like really big planes and like special ops missions. And she's a flight instructor now. And so she introduced me to a young woman who acted as our like stunt double in the film. And I was able to go on some like flight lessons with them. And it wasn't in like a fighter pilot. It was just in a Cessna, but it was really cool. I was like in the back of this plane, and one woman was teaching another really young woman like how to do this. And it was really inspiring for me because, there's like the Amelia Earhart story, but you don't hear about women pilots very often these days. They're less than 4% of all like certified pilots. And I think like in the Air Force, the numbers are incredibly small. So it's been really special. And that woman who was learning and flew me, and then she acted as our flight double, which was great because those hours she flew went into her application to become a fighter pilot. And she just like has gotten through her first steps of training and is like getting her wings. So it's really great. It was cool that like in making the film, we got to like be a part of a woman's journey to get to reach her goal of being a pilot.
Yeah, and I mean, it also is a great parallel from the film as well, because these women, they're finally getting to do what as they said in the film, they're born to do, and you're able to like do that in real life. So I think that's just a great parallel that you were able to, live out.
Yeah, well, it's funny because at first I would have thought that like, oh man, you'd be really bummed to get your deployment orders. Like it's scary, and it's it's like what's going to happen, and you're being yanked from your day-to-day life. But that was like my first instinct. But then as I got into it and started talking to various women who are pilots and in the military, it was like, no, they've been working for years for this. This is like what they want to do. And so it is an exciting time. And I think especially for those folks that have the privilege of flying those jets, it's like the best time to do that. You know, you work really hard for that opportunity.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed that part of the film too, where you were kind of just like, you can see them kind of struggling with the news and what they're gonna do about it, but at the end they're just like, this is it, you know? And it was a really great new perspective that I was able to see because, you know, in film and in TV, like once they get the deployment, it's just like the whole world is shattering. But it was really nice to see the brighter side of it through Wingmen.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also complicated. I think there's so much more to this story that I want to tell. Like, what happens when they get there? And, like, I think in some ways, deployment can be less exciting than you want it to be. You know, I think it's a lot of um, sitting around and waiting for things to happen. And then, you know, I'm sure there are, you know, they're really taught to follow orders, but I think they all have their own personal thoughts and ethics and ideas of how they would approach various situations. And I'm sure that gets complicated at times. So I'm excited to hopefully be able to explore some of those things in a longer version of this story.
I was gonna say maybe it can become a feature film that we need actually. You know, it's not like we want it, we need it.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I'd really love the opportunity to tell the story as a feature film and or a series. You know, I'm kind of thinking and working on both avenues.
And because, you know, both women are absolutely amazing characters, they're strong, they're beautiful, they're, you know, very empowered. What do you believe is the key to create those characters?
I mean, I think you have to. Uh, I guess what makes them strong is they have perspective. Um, they support each other, and I think they're complicated. You know, they're not straightforward and one dimensional. You know, they have a lot of things kind of pulling at them, and so that's kind of what I look for in strong characters. And I think with these three women, it was important to me to have the Jane character as well. Anna Koto is, first off, a dream. She's amazing. And I'm not sure if you have seen her skating videos, but she's like become a TikTok legend with roller skating lately, which is so cool. So, but Anna plays Jane, and Jane was really important because she's kind of the me or the, you know, whomever is outside of the world, like where, you know, and I think we can all relate to that situation where like you've known someone for a really long time and then now they're in a new world order or a new situation and you're kind of like, I don't understand that thing that is a part of their life now. You know, that's kind of how I have been with my sister. And honestly, like this project has really brought us a lot closer. It's helped me and her have a lot of conversations about what she does and what it's like. And, you know, to do it in a way where she doesn't feel like I'm judging her. And I feel like I'm getting a peek behind the curtain in a way that like I wouldn't have maybe like been able to outside of this project. So anyways, it was kind of important for me to have that dynamic because first off, I don't know if you've ever been to a bachelorette party, but every time you go, there's always like there's people from different walks of your life and you're kind of faced with all those things at once. And so that's something that I've experienced almost at every bachelorette party I've been to. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that you have different, different versions of yourself in different relationships. And so I wanted to make sure that was clear. And also, I thought it was fun to kind of have to see Marie and Jane clash. And Jazz Sinclair, who plays Marie, she really blew me away when I met with her. We had a coffee to kind of talk about the project before she committed to it. And it's really hard to be that person who has the strong moral core and knows what they want and is good at what they do. I feel like it often comes off self-righteous and unlikable, especially in female characters. I think like for male characters, it's actually easier to pull that off. But Jazz, she just really brought a lightness of spirit, and that was what I wanted to see in Marie. Like I wanted her to be this like grounded, strong person who knew what she wanted and was kind of unwavering, but she's also like, she is the type of person that you'd want to have fun with too. And so I didn't want to lose that. And Jazz brought all those pieces together. And then Sam, who plays Sarah, she like what grabbed me in her audition was like when she made this face in the flight stuff when we were reading that just like was scared, and it was scared and kind of mad and this kind of mix of emotions that I thought was really hard to grab. And she's just also like, so she's someone you want to be around and like has that quality. So it was amazing to work with these three women. They're really incredible, and hopefully I'll have the chance to work with them again sometime.
Oh, absolutely. They did absolutely amazing. And, I've always said they don't use jazz enough in the Sabrina show. And
Yeah.
this continued to prove my point. And it's just like, let this girl have roles, please. So I'm
Yeah,
really glad
she's
you were able to use her and, show everyone her range because she's just so talented.
She really is. Well, I think the other thing is I was glad in later episodes of Sabrina they pulled her out from the glasses, but they like were almost hiding her at times. And I think she's just has so much to offer, and I'm really excited. She's also like just stepped into music. She's releasing like some an album or music video this week that she's been working on. So not to like promo her, but I love Jazz and I'm really excited to see more from her.
We will be streaming. I will be streaming.
Good. Good.
And you mentioned the flight scene a couple of times. What was it like filming that? Like, were you guys, I have to ask, this is gonna be really dumb, but were you guys actually in the air or was it just like a simulator?
Oh my God, it was one of the best days of my whole life. I loved it. It was so much fun. And it was a lot of prep. We found a plane that we could use. It's owned by a place called Pursuit Aviation. They actually use the plane we filmed in usually to film like high speed sequences. So they have like a thing that goes on the front. They can put a protected camera in and like go film like high speed jets and things. So they've used it in a lot of movies, including oh man, I'm forgetting the name of it. I'm just gonna stop that because I forgot which movies they've used it in. But so they don't normally use that plane as a picture plane, and we were the first time that they did that. And we filmed on the ground the scenes so that we captured all the dialogue and action. But then we also did 3 flights, and both Jazz and Sam flew in the back seat and went at really high speeds. I mean, they took on multiple G's in the turns, and it was crazy. I gave them like a list of the script, and it was numbered based on segments. And the pilot, who was he's a legendary pilot who races planes and normally acts as like a pace pilot. So he had a script and they had a script, and they would do like certain flight moves tied to the action, and they would like, you know, for the cameras, which were like GoPros, the actors would be like, okay, this is like scene one, and then they would like do the move and perform the scene. So I mean, they really were acting up there, and they were doing it themselves because I couldn't be with them. So, but you know, it was incredible. We practiced it a ton, and I just am so like, I think it's part of the reason they signed up to do the project, because they're like, I get to fly in a jet, like, yes. But also to me, it was really important to actually film them flying, because it just makes it so much more realistic than if you're doing green screen stuff. And then I was really like lucky because Curtis Carlson, who did our visual effects, actually did Captain Marvel visual effects as well. And so we crafted a plan from the beginning on like how we would do it. And it was based a little bit on some of the Captain Marvel stuff, but I mean, look, I kind of like our look better because it just feels more realistic. It feels like, because they didn't have the actual flying stuff. They were in a better, I mean, I think that the plane, I'm really happy with it. I wish we were in like a real like I really wanted an F-18, and we were very close to getting one, but it didn't end up working out. And so this plane, which is called a T-33, is a trainer plane, and it's actually from like the 1950s. So it's a historical plane, and it really does say Air Force on it and stuff. So that's cool. But I think that like, for me, I wanted a more modern plane, but I was really, really happy with how it all turned out.
Yeah, that made me so happy that you said they're actually flying, because I was like, there's no way this is green screen. And it's just like, it was just so cool to watch. It was one of my favorite parts.
Oh,
And
thanks.
oh, you guys just did so amazing. So that just made me really happy to hear that, it was practical. They were actually up in the air and it was not green screen. That made my whole day.
It was an incredible day, and like those two are true, like Sam and Jazz were true champions. Like, to act at multiple G's, like, what?
Yeah, that's what was really getting to me, because they were doing so well. And I was just like, are they actually in the air and giving this amazing performance? Like, what's happening? And it just paid off so well for the film. And I hope everyone listening gets the chance to watch it. And because that scene is just amazing.
Thank you so much. It means a lot to me.
It was no problem. It was just so good. Like, I just can't stop saying it. I really enjoyed the film. And yeah, anyone listening, please go watch it. And um, you were mentioning you were having difficulties with the getting a plane. Were there any other difficulties during filming?
Um, no, I mean, I think it's always like a race for time. And you know, there's other small things like uh in kind of the race for time, we were filming the house where they're staying. We only had that for like a day and a half, and I really wanted wallpaper in the bathroom, and we couldn't finish the whole room because we had to start shooting. So it's like in most of the shots, the wallpaper's not there. And I'm just like, oh, I really wanted the like flowers all behind her on the phone. Like, but you know, it kind of is what it is. So you let go of some things. And
Yeah.
the other challenge was, oh my Lord, it was so cold. The scene where they're like out back having the bachelorette party in tank tops, it was freezing, unexpectedly cold. And like all three of them were incredible champions. Like literally the camera would cut and they would be like, and we'd have to like run in down jackets. We just like totally did not expect that.
Yeah, that's pretty insane because it looked like it was, not cold, but it looked like it was maybe like it looked like a fresh day. So to hear that it was freezing, that's insane because I am a baby when it comes to the cold. So
Oh my
they
God.
did amazing.
Yeah, these girls are tough.
Yeah, I could never. Do you have any advice for aspiring filmmakers, specifically women, and what it means to be a writer, a director, or just anything you have?
Do it. If you want to do it, do it. Like, no one is going to call you up and give you an opportunity. And it's hard to be like banging on doors all the time, but like you have to make it happen and um, be the one that's driving the force to get you there. And I'm telling myself that too, because, it's like, it's hard. You have to keep at it. And yeah, I think that's the most important thing.
Absolutely. I've been hearing that like all week. So it's just like, okay, I need to just get it in my head and do it. Like I need to
Yeah,
listen and
set a
take it.
date. Set a date and make it happen.
There we go. So all the women listening, or just any filmmakers in general, or whatever you're doing, just do it.
Yeah, I mean, you have to just do it. And like, constraints only like bring like creativity, So like just just make it happen.
There we go. And where can we follow you as well as Wingmen on social media?
So for me, like I'm mostly on Instagram and my handle is at Coley Emanuele and it's spelled COLEEMANUELE. And the movie doesn't have social, it's mostly just on mine. But there is like a hashtag Wingman movie where you can see some stuff. And we've got a website, wingmen-movie.com.
I absolutely love that. And will there be any future screenings for Wingmen in other film festivals?
I hope so. We don't have anything planned right now. Film festivals right now are kind of going through their own crises, as people, don't really want to be near each other in the movie theaters, which is so sad. I'm dying to get back to the movies. So, I'll let you know, but I do update the website when there are updated screening information.
There we go. You just have to keep an eye on the website, everyone, so you can make sure to check out Wingmen, the short film. And I absolutely enjoyed talking to you today, Nicole. Thank you so much for joining me. I I love the film. I can't say that enough. And it was just a pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you. So nice to talk to you too. And I really appreciate that you loved it. That really like means a lot to me.
Thank you for making it, like, genuinely, because I feel like this story, it just needed to be told, and it's something we don't really see. So I always appreciate when it's women behind, these powerful stories of women as well. So just thank you.
Yeah, I love that.
I had an amazing time talking to Nicole about Wingmen, and I hope you enjoy listening in. Make sure to visit the film's website to stay updated on where you can catch the next screening. That's all for now. Thank you for listening in. Take it home for us, Nicole.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nicole Emanuele, the writer-director of Wingmen, and you're listening to JeanBookNerd.com.